Okay, let's start. Hi everyone, I'm Annette from Fashion Design Tribe, and the people who know me, you know that I work as a consultant, fashion designer, and product developer. I work with a lot of smaller and startup brands, and I help them through the journey from concept to production. I also offer mentoring for creative businesses and online courses within fashion. So if you want to come and learn with me, please check out Fashion Design Tribe. And before I introduce my guest, who is from a sourcing agency, I am going to tell you a little personal story so that you got to understand the importance of working with sourcing agents and manufacturers. So when I started my fashion career, I worked for this mentor of mine. She was very experienced, very brilliant. But one day I was in the office and I was doing my thing on my computer, looking at my design tech packs and figuring out the emails and how to answer people. And I was very new, so it was very stressful. It was scary and sweaty at times. And I remember the sun was shining really from the window and I was sweating along there, feeling like, oh my God, am I answering the right question? What tech pack goes with this? And I had a few different clients. So it was hard. And I could hear how my mentor got more and more upset as well. She was on the phone with someone and then shoof, something shocked me. And the phone went through the room because the factory had delays, and obviously even how experienced you are, these things can stress you. And that's why from that day on, I realized like, wow, if someone this experienced, someone I look up to can have these feelings and also be stressed about manufacturing, that means that I need to really grow my relationships with my factories and the whole process so that I get the right help. And that's what I've done. And that's why Shefali, who I've known for like, I think 15 years, is here today. And we're gonna ask her questions about sourcing and manufacturing. So welcome Shefali Arya from Amma Designs. Nice to have you
Thank you,
here.
Annette. Glad to meet you. Well, I would like to introduce a bit about my company. My company name is Anna Designs, and we are a sourcing and a supplying company. And we have been in this this sourcing company has been with us. It's been in 15 years. We have working, and we work with a lot of Indian manufacturers. We are into home. We do kids products. We do kids wear. We do ladies wear, and we do even home decor. So, and all our manufacturers, all our factories are well compliant, and they are basically our main aim of our company is basically to see the production, see the everything from start and finish till the end. Once when we ship the goods. That
Mm.
is our whole team, and we have a very good team of people. We have a QC team, we have a design PD department, we have textile, we have the pattern cutting department also, so that at least in the beginning, but before the production, at the sampling stage, we are able to look into everything before the production starts. So that is our company's job profile basically.
Yeah, so you really help any brand you work with from the
Yeah.
design when you hand over your design tech pack and size specifications and information about your collection, and you handle it for the brands or together
Yeah.
with the brands all the way to production. That's
Yes, we do
amazing.
that.
Yeah, and just for everyone, just so you know, Shefali works with lots of amazing manufacturers in India. You specialize in India.
Yes, we work with a lot of amazing manufacturers. Most of the factories are for our compliance.
Mm.
Now we have recently started working like there's one of my brand called Jojo Mama Bee, which has been taken over by Next. And now the factories with whom we are working has to be compliant, socially compliant by
Yeah.
Next. So we have to like we are so particular about from the beginning from the sampling stage, the quality of the samples, the workmanship, till the end, the production, good. We have to even be on time. There is no delays. And the quality, we have to be very, very, very careful about the qualities. And especially for if we are doing kids products, we have to see all the kids norms, the testing norms, we have to keep in picture and then start with the production.
Yeah, I think
So
that's
that is,
important to know for people
Yeah.
listening that firstly, there is a lot of compliance and laws you need to follow even more in kids wear. And that is one thing that's really good with having a sourcing agent, because you know what factories have these standards. And you also visit the factories so you can see what they're doing, right?
Yeah, yeah. We have a full team of people. We have the merchandising team, which looks into the one when we get a design sheet from the buyer. We first sit and study. Then we sort out to which factory it has to be given. We do the sourcing also if it has to be the fabrics and all. Then we put it into sampling at the sampling stage. All samples have to be on time, see the quality before sending it to the buyer there. And then once the order is placed, we sit with the factory, go with over everything, the tech packs, the pattern has to be made, the grading has to be done, that, and then testing has to be seen. And then at the fabric stage, we see what the bulk fabric is, inspections have to be done. So we see from the beginning till the end. And then when the goods are into production, we have three stages. That is first mid inline, second, and then the final one. So our QC goes after like once the pieces production started to come in, they see at every stage, the stitching stage, the finishing stage, and the packing stage. So that by the end, when the goods are packed, there is no issues, quality issues as such.
That's
At times, we do try to do 100% inspection also. That depends on the buyer's need and the
yeah.
quantity what is being shipped.
Is there a difference, do you think, when you work with a smaller brand to a bigger brand when it comes to the like 100% inspection? Do you have more time to look at all of the production if it's a smaller brand, or is
See,
it?
if it is, say, if we are working for some designer label or
Yeah.
something, there we have to be very, very careful about the sleeves and the design. So there the things are that it has to be 100. We make sure that a QC is sitting there with the
Hmm.
masters on the machine. And it is, if it is an assembly line or it is a single piece a tailor is making, so they make it sure that at every stage the piece is being seen.
That's
The
amazing.
measurements are being taken so that the drape, everything, which is
Yeah.
very, very necessary. And if we are doing a very high-end beaded embroidered style, that we also make sure that at the time when the embroidery is being done on the adda, what we call it as, and that it after every five beading thing, there is a knot so that it doesn't wear off.
Yeah, that's good.
So
Yeah,
these
and
are
that's
the things which, yeah,
following both how it has to be done, but also
yes.
like for security, you don't want your beads to fall off. That's really good. But with this QC, is it extra costly, or is that something that's always included in your service, or does it come at
So
an
it's
extra?
always included in our service.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
really good, and I think that's for anyone listening who's like a smaller startup brand. I think that is the security you're looking for
Yeah.
when working with someone. So, do you
See,
think that? Yeah, you first.
I think that if you have a sourcing, if any brand has a sourcing company, so
Mm,
at least for them, they don't have that headache to follow up the company here who is there with whom they are dealing. It is their duty to make sure the goods they are on time, there is a quality, they have a good quality, and everything mean they have to follow everything with the manufacturer.
yeah,
So for them, slightly it becomes easy.
yeah, that's really good, and I think that's important to remember for anyone starting,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
having that extra help is really beneficial because you have someone on the ground, and I'm
Yes, yes.
guessing as well it helps with the language barriers.
The language barrier, it doesn't have that much. Only the
Okay,
language barrier we have it that is in South.
yeah,
When we go for, because South, most of our knits are being done in South. So
yeah,
there we do have a bit of language barrier, but with English,
it's
they
okay.
are very well aware
Yeah.
how this thing. So that is not an issue.
Okay, so that's good. So if a designer sends you a design tech pack and size specification is in English, it doesn't even have to be translated. You
No,
know
no,
that.
no. It doesn't. We are there, no? We are there to make sure that the things that what exactly a designer, we are there to make them understand.
Yeah, okay, that's good. So
So that,
if there's a measurement that the factory doesn't understand, you try and solve it before you even go back
yes,
to the brand.
yes.
Oh, that's really, really good. Okay, so you work with different types of brand, but how do you know which factory to choose and which one is the best for the different brands? How do you do that?
See, we have different factories who do different work. Like all factories, suppose for clothing, if I take high-end one, like it's
Mm.
all beaded and embroidered. So for that, we have different type of factories. Every factory will not do that. And it all depends on the style, what we are getting, the designs, what we are getting. And if it is, if it is a higher brand, they will always look for a compliance factory. So
Yeah.
obviously, we have to go and approach the factories who are compliance,
Mm.
SGS or Intertech or Next, like these are the
Yeah.
compliance, this thing. Or at times, they even want a third party compliance. At
Mm.
times, they would prefer a third party inspection. Like we have a QC team, but there are certain brands who want, okay, fine. After your QC has passed the goods, we would like to have a third party inspection, that is
Yeah.
through SGS, Intertech, and all that stuff. So we make it a point. It all depends on the style, what a customer is looking for, what a buyer is
Mm.
looking for, and after that we decide on the factories, which factory to give the work.
That's really good. And for everyone who's listening, SGS and Intertech, they are testing houses.
They
And
do the testing as well as they are the QC houses also. They do
exactly,
the
and they
inspections also, third party inspections.
exactly, and they are worldwide. So if you ever want to have extra testing done, or if you want anyone to go check your goods, those are the worldwide, very well known. There are also smaller companies that do the same, but anyone in the industry would know and have contact with SGS and Intertech. So what do you need before you start sampling? So if I was a brand and I wanted to send you my designs, what do you need from me?
See, I would need a full design pack.
Mm.
At times, what buyer does that they give us instead of giving us a tech pack, they will just send us the fabric, the print, what they are looking for, the fabrics, what they are looking for, and like these are the fabrics we are looking for, and just a sketch. So at times, my team, my sampling team,
Mm.
me, myself, we go to the market based on their design on mood boards. We source the fabrics, that these are all fabrics are available. These are the trims, at time laces and all. This is available based on your
Mm.
mood boards. And then we send that mood boards to the buyer there. And based on that, they pick up that. That is the initial stage of designing,
Yeah.
basically. So every season they have different mood boards, different colorways, different prints. So we do a sourcing ourselves. We go
Mm.
to different mills for prints. We tell them that what is the latest prints based on their mood boards. We will pick up the prints, we will pick up the fabrics which are there in the market, and the trims and all what. And then that we make it in a form of a mood board, a book, a notebook, and send it to them. Based
Yeah.
on that, they'll send us a design concept. Then from them, first of all, we would be needing a tech pack
Yeah.
to make the very initial samples. If they can give us a grading, very good.
Mm.
Otherwise, we do the grading at our own end only. But we do need in one particular size, that is small, medium, whatever size sample
Yeah.
they want. In that, we need the grading. Then we need a proper uh, design sheet, a
Mm.
proper sketch, and a design sheet, and with all the trims, details, and everything.
Yes.
So that is the very first thing we need, and then we go ahead with the first development of our very first samples. We send it to the buyer, and then buyer sends a comments whether,
Mm.
and based on that comment, then we go further.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And then how I mean, from my experience, anywhere I've worked, really, it usually takes about 3 samples to get it like absolutely like how you want it. But if you're lucky too. But what would you say, is that your experience with most of your brands
See,
too?
in first go, our samples, we do get changes in
Mm.
very first sample, whether it is related to the print or the fabric or the stitching details or the sizes. So in first sample, we'll always get comments. It's been like very, 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 very out of the one you never don't get, okay, buyer finds, okay, fine, this is perfectly, I'm going to place orders on that.
Yeah.
But that is not, we do need to make around 3 samples.
Yeah.
And whenever we send a sample, we always keep a counter with us so that when the buyer gives us a comment, we have a thing to follow what we had said.
That's
So
perfect.
that is very particular thing.
Yeah.
With it is for any type, whether we are doing toys, we are doing kids wear, we are doing the home, anything, but we do keep a counter sample of everything.
So both you and the factory has a counter sample, or
No, we share.
you share?
We
Okay,
share.
but
If we
that's
do
good.
accessories also, if we are doing accessories also, for that also we have a counter sample.
Yeah.
So that it is easy for the buyer. When the buyer, at times we do have a video call also with, so we have the pieces with us where the buyer wants us to do. At times there are a lot of major corrections, and which a buyer can make us visually understand more better with the piece they have it and the piece which we have it,
Yeah.
instead then sending us the comments.
Exactly. I think that's perfect. I have come across at occasions when I worked with people and they haven't had a counter sample. It can create a bit of mayhem, and you have to send samples back and
No,
forth.
it happens.
Yeah.
It happens. You're absolutely right. But then one has to make sure actually. But these days, see, a lot of things have changed. You had worked years back,
Yes,
and
exactly.
now when you were in the manufacture, now people like the qualities have
Yeah,
improved. The
that's right.
sampling time has, everything has been improved.
Yeah, that's really good. And I mean, I love to hear that you have a counter sample, because for me, I think that's super important. So anyone out there starting your brand, think about that. You want your agent or your factory or
At
both
that,
to have
at
a
times,
sample.
at times what we do, if suppose we have picked up for some market fabric and we
Yeah.
just have a fabric for one piece, so we send that uh, actual piece to the buyer, but we do make a small swatch, whether it's a embroidery or it's a print, but the body, the cut, everything, we have a sample to follow.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I think for, especially for fit and things like that, it's very important, because
Yeah.
you can measure and you can compare. Because as we know from the industry, but maybe if you're new to the fashion world, you don't. If one top has a shoulder measurement and you have another top, your shoulder might not measure exactly like mine. I mean, we do have a tolerance to stick within, but it could be slightly different. So if it's half centimeter difference on Shefali's shoulder on the top, she's having the sample, and I tell her to shorten it half a centimeter, but mine was longer, then that's hard. And that's why it's so good to have the counter samples, because you can measure and you can discuss.
Measure it, and the fit means fit has to be absolutely perfect. So
Yeah.
at times there are few like garments which are very high end. We do draping on the dummy also to see the fall, the fit.
Yeah, oh, that's really good. That's super
Yeah.
good. And I think that's actually sometimes quite hard to find when you're looking, especially in India and China, people who drape. So I think that's really actually super important. And
Yeah, for draping we really need to put it on the dummy and
yeah,
then do the draping.
yeah. Do all your factories have dummies and mannequins in their
Yeah,
factories?
they do have. Yeah, they do have.
Okay, that's really good. That's really good. Okay, so if there is a problem, say with the quality at some stage of the sampling, or even when you get to production in the end of line, how do you fix them, and what is the process from your side as a sourcing agent to fix it?
Initially we make it a point that we don't get some issues like that at the end when the goods are already packed. That is why we have a team of QCs. They make it a point when the production has started, whether a factory is getting it made through a fabricator outside the factory or they are getting it made inside the factory. So our QC, we have two QCs in
Yeah.
our organization. They make sure that they visit the factory wherever the goods are being manufactured from day one. They will see all the patterns, all the sizes pattern, they will measure it. Is there any
Yeah,
error or something so that it can be corrected? And then initially when the production starts, we at least make sure to make at least 10 to 15 pieces
that's good.
total.
Yeah.
Like suppose there's extra small to extra large. So total would be 10 to 15 pieces. Our QC will do measurements. They will see the quality. They will see the embroidery, the workmanship. Everything is perfect. Once they give go ahead to that, then the bulk production starts.
Okay.
But and suppose if there are some issues during the that is why we have the initial inspection, then we have the midline, and then we have the final one.
Yeah,
So with these inspections, we make it a point so that at least there are no issues as such in the final.
that's really
But
good.
if there is some, suppose if we have we work on AQL 2.5.
Mm.
that is the AQ level, the quality level what we
Yeah.
work. That also all depends on the buyer, but our particular our company AQ is 2.5. So we
Yeah.
make sure that so that there are certain, like, you should have major this much pieces, minor this much, depending on the quantity and all.
Mm.
So if there is something more, if there is a major problem, then we have to make sure that we have to make sure that we do cut the pieces again and do the bulk, or
Yeah.
do the, but at times it doesn't happen, but
Yeah.
it can happen also. So but
Yeah.
it is our duty, our organization duty, to make sure that the buyer is getting the best of product.
Yeah. And then you do your best to communicate between the
Yeah,
buyer
yeah,
and the
yeah.
factory and make sure it's,
Yeah,
yeah.
if suppose otherwise we make it a point, normally we take 75 to 90 days as a production lead time after we receive the POs and approvals and all. But if we are getting delayed, so it is our, and see, if you're
Yeah.
working directly with the factory, a factory will never tell you what, whether they are getting late, whether they have the
No,
fabric, what, at what stage their garments are. But being a agent here in between a supplying company or sourcing company, it is
yeah.
our duty to advise, to tell the buyer that we are at this stage. We are, I suppose if we are running late also, we can tell the buyer that these are the reasons we are running late. We need
Yeah.
extension till this. So basically, it is a good point for a buyer to have a buying agency, what we call it, a sourcing company. Though
Yeah.
it is because it is slightly more, because the prices and all increases. What if a direct buyer is giving a direct work to a factory, they
Yes.
might cut down the price. But if some mediator is involved, then obviously they will also increase some percentage or whatever the percent is.
Yeah. No, I think that's a valuable point, because I think that's like a safety net for you as a brand to know if there are any delays, because delays happen. I mean, we're all human, and it's a process of many things that has to come together. But as a brand, it's really useful to know, because you can plan when you drop your sales to the customer and all of that. So
Yes.
I think that's really valuable information for people to know. Uh, and is there anything in general you would like to say, like why a brand should work with Indian manufacturers, and like how can you build a good relationship with them?
See, now the Indian manufacturers have also become very flexible.
Mm.
Like the earlier the Chinese manufacturers were not flexible, but now they have. What
Yeah.
I had heard, that China never used to do small volumes and all. Now they are doing small quantities and everything. And with the Indian manufacturers, certain things which China cannot do.
Mm.
The Indian touch, what the Indian manufacturers can give, a Chinese or any other manufacturer cannot give.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, so, and there are certain fabrics which we can develop, other countries cannot develop.
Mm.
So, there is
Yeah. Do you want to
quality
give an
issue of,
example of the fabrics you can do?
yeah, and at times we do need to get fabrics from China also.
Okay. Well, it happens. I mean, it's an industry that works together, so
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's good. Actually, one thing that I was thinking about, which I'm sure lots of people listening are interested in, because many who start brands or are smaller at this point want to be very sustainable. So, how is India with the sustainability and finding sustainable factories? Could you tell us a bit about that?
We do have sustainable factories, nothing of that sort.
Yeah.
And
Because I know you told me before that, like, for example, finding a fair trade factory can be very expensive because they have to pay very high, what do you call it? They need to pay a lot of money to get certified for being fair trade, and that's very costly for the factories. But is there a way to, like, if I don't particularly need a fair trade factory, but I want to make sure that, say, the people who work there have good living standards and good wages?
that is the reason we do compliance. So social
Yeah.
compliance is very important. These days, most of the factories, most of the buyers, whether it's a small brand or a big brand, they want a compliance factory, especially a
Yeah.
social compliance factory.
Okay. Yeah.
So most of our factories are compliance. There might be very few, like with the factories with whom I am dealing, they're
Yeah.
all compliant, and we are very particular. Like next, they're
Mm.
very particular about their
Of
social
course.
compliance.
Yeah. Is there a
And
way, because I know you can do audits and things of a factory, but I'm guessing for a small brand that can be quite expensive. Is there a way of,
if a factory is already working for big brands, and if they're
yeah.
already SGS or Intertech compliance, or they are got certified,
Mm.
so certain buyers, they consider that also. It is not necessary that they will get the
Audit.
compliance done from here.
Yeah.
So we have the all the certifications every year. The compliance is renewed.
Mm.
Everything every year it is. The inspectors come and they see it. Audit there, or every year there is a audit. So
Yeah.
it's all renewed. So that is not a
Mm. I
problem.
think that's also a benefit then to working with a sourcing agent, because you know that they're compliant. It's a lot harder if you, as a small brand, reach out
Yeah,
directly.
see, we will, if you're working through a sourcing agent, and if a buyer is looking for a compliance factory, we will make sure that we give the goods or anything, the sampling, whatever, to the compliance factory only.
Yeah.
But if a buyer wants to deal directly, then they have to send somebody here to India to look into it. So that is why the reason why most of the brands, big brands, they're having a license office in India,
Yeah.
so that at least they have their office. They have,
They have
like
people.
Next also has a liaison office, like Boohoo also has a liaison office. So they
Yeah.
are working with a lot of manufacturers, but they have their office there to
Yeah.
make sure, so that because traveling also costs a lot of expense.
Exactly. No, I know from the bigger brands I've worked with that they all had, both in India
Yeah,
and China, they've all had
yeah,
offices on the ground, but also sometimes worked with agents in between. So
yeah.
that really goes to show for smaller brands as well, that even when bigger brands even work through sourcing agencies and put people on the ground, that actually the QC and the going to see the factory is very important. Uh, so how do you make sure then, like, that the communication runs well between the factory and you and the brand? Do you have any special tips or anything to say to, like, how to get?
Well, see, these days, media being so much, these days everything is on
Yeah.
internet. So I think communication is much better as compared to earlier.
Mm.
And
Yeah. So do you do a lot of Zoom calls and emails, and do
yeah,
you
yeah.
include the brand when you speak to the factory, or do you deal a lot with the factory and then the brand, or like
Uh,
how does
at
the?
times it depends. At times it depends. But at times we make it a point that we sort out the problem at our end before we
Yeah.
inform the brand. If
Yeah.
it's a very major issue, like something in specs or something
Mm.
production, that is the end stage. If something has gone wrong or some, then we do include the brand. Otherwise, we make it sure that the problem is sorted at our end only.
Okay, that's perfect. I just want to ask a little bit more about the sustainability, more like what sustainable fabrics can you get, and how does it work when you go and get fabrics at the market? Because could you run out of a fabric from a market and stuff like that? That's my
Yeah,
last.
we do run out of the fabric. That's a very important thing. We
Yeah.
do run out of the fabric. Actually, the thing is this, because see, if we pick up some market fabric, so if it is not a stock fabric, and then we have to make it tell the buyer that whatever this is the fabric, if they have chosen this, we have to finish it, pick it up fast for production before it gets over. But at times if it gets over also, we can develop, if it's a good quantity, we do get developed it from our people.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. That's good. And if you want to get, say, fair trade cotton or something like that, do you have to go directly to the mill, or is that also available in these markets?
Pardon, I
If
couldn't
you
get
want
you.
to get like fair trade cotton, for example, or organic cotton, is that
Yeah.
available from markets, or do you need to go to the mill to buy those, or how does that work?
See, for organic, the main issue is the minimums these days, which is
Yeah.
happening. So, yeah, because we need, basically, we need around 1,000 meters of
Mm.
fabric for organic gray fabric.
Yeah.
So, we have mills and the manufacturers who have the got certified organic. certification. So we directly go to them only that this is what we needed, because most of the buyers who are doing organic, they would like us to show them a certificate that it's got certified. So we
Exactly.
have to go to the same manufacturers, the same fabric suppliers who
Mm.
are already, who's got the certification.
Yeah, okay. And then usually it's grease fabric so that you can dye it to your own
Yeah,
Pantone
yeah, yeah,
of
yeah.
the
For
minute.
that also, the dyeing also an issue because you need organic dyes.
Yes.
So, so organic is slightly a problem for small quantities, but I think going ahead, it will not be much
Mm.
because these days, especially for kids brand, people are all organic, organic, organic.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to know. And also, before we end, do you, when you help, because obviously most of the people who are listening to this is smaller brands. So, what are your minimums? Like, say, if you wanted to do a toy, or if you wanted to do, say, some kids wear, like, what kind of ranges of minimums do you work with, and how low do you go?
See, the minimum is, it all depends. It all depend. We have factories who do small minimums also,
Yeah.
and we have factories who do volume also.
Yeah. So if I
So
came to you and I could show you my design tech pack for let's say a little toy bunny, you could give me the best, and could it go as low as 100 in India, or?
no problem. We have no
Yeah,
issues as such.
you do have small.
Only
Okay.
we do have fabric issues for smaller quantities, but if
Mm,
it's a basic fabric or we have fabrics in stock, if it is there, we show you that, and that
yeah,
quantities cannot, we should not, it is not an issue actually with the
that's great.
vendors.
That's good news for
Yeah.
everyone out there listening. And that's what I always say. If you're struggling with your minimums when you're trying to source factories or agents, try and think of ways to do it. You can use stock fabrics, you can
Yeah,
use
yeah.
some color that someone else has used. Maybe you don't need exactly that blue, maybe you can have a range
No,
of.
but then these days with digital printing, we can do small quantities. It may be
Yeah,
like earlier, if it's a print thing, earlier we used to know we need this particular for screen printing, for rotary, we need minimum. But
yeah,
these days we don't need minimum. We can
no,
do 100 pieces also if it's a digital print.
yeah. Is the digital print much more expensive than say a
It's
rotary?
slightly expensive. It is slightly expensive, but from productivity point of view, it is, the production is very fast.
Yeah,
And we do at times, it's the fabric. If it is a panel cutting also, we do
mm,
panel cutting digital also.
yeah. But
So
that's good.
which is very fast, and which is it doesn't take much of time actually.
No, I think
So
that's
like
very
that, the
exciting.
productivity has also increased.
Yeah.
Production time has, lead time has also increased.
Okay, but I think that's very exciting as well with the digital printing. I know it's more expensive, but actually for being a small brand, if you want to create something more unique, digital
Yeah,
printing also gives you a bigger choice of colors. If you do
it's
screen,
bigger choice of color, the more sharpness in the print,
yeah,
and
yeah,
because at times on screen you don't get that sharpness, then we had to go for rotary to get the sharpness, but in digital that is not an issue.
no, exactly. And you
It's
can,
not that expensive. We work, most of the buyers are these days, they are doing digital printing only.
okay. Well, that's very exciting. So that's really exciting. So that I didn't know. So now, haha. Just kidding.
Even for embroideries and all, we are going all computer and all these
Yeah,
days.
yeah. I would say like I love India for embroidery. I think India does the best embroidery and
Yeah,
weaving
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
So well, I think we've had so much great information. And if anyone wants to check out Shefali's website, is Ama Designs.
Yeah,
Is it .com or .id India?
iron.
IN. So Ama Designs with an S, dot
Yeah,
IN, so India. So check her out and contact Shefali if you need help with your production. She's great. And thank you so much for being here and explaining how it works with sourcing agents and working with India. It's so exciting. And
thanks a lot. It was pleasure talking to you
yeah, lovely
and
to
sharing our experience basically.
exactly. It's been great. So thank you so
I
much.
know.
And
Thanks a lot, Annette. Thanks a lot.
and yeah,
Okay.
thank you to everyone listening. And I will see you in future interviews. Keep your eyes peeled for what